In Marsupial Met, one player is the director of an art museum trying to exhibit their works, before the other player, the leader of a marsupial crime syndicate, can steal them from their galleries or even right out of the museum's hand or deck. Museum cards can either be played vertically as displays in their galleries or horizontally as countermeasures protecting against the syndicate's heists. Each museum card is either artwork or a decoy. Artwork is worth points for the museum player when successfully exhibited as a gallery display, and is also worth points for the syndicate if pilfered from the museum during a heist. Decoys are not worth points and instead have negative effects for the syndicate if pilfered. Because all museum cards are played face down, the syndicate player doesn't know if a card in a display is an artwork or a decoy until they try to pilfer it. Syndicate cards represent marsupial specialists that can help the syndicate player neutralize the museum's countermeasures during heists, and like museum cards, can also be played either vertically or horizontally. When played vertically or relaxed, each specialist has an ability that resolves immediately, and also a toughness icon that can be used during heists. When played horizontally or motivated, a specialist does not resolve its ability, but has different or additional toughness icons. Let's walk through the first few turns of a game as we continue to go over the game concepts. To set up the game, players choose to play as either the syndicate or the museum, take and shuffle their corresponding deck, and draw 3 cards for their starting hand. Players alternate taking turns. The museum player always goes first. At the beginning of the museum's turn, they exhibit any finalized displays. This is the point where they would score points for exhibiting their artwork, but since it's the first turn and there are no cards in play, we'll skip this for now. The museum takes 3 actions per turn. They may use actions to draw a card, play a card horizontally as a countermeasure, play a card vertically as a display, finalize a display by rotating the card 180 degrees, or add a museum card in play back to their hand. The museum plays cards to the table in 3 columns. The outer columns on either side of the deck are called galleries and may contain 1 vertically oriented display at the base of the column and up to 2 horizontal countermeasures in front of the display protecting it. The central column in front of the deck is called the vault and may contain up to 2 countermeasures. Museum cards are always played face down, so the syndicate player doesn't know the strength of the countermeasures or whether the cards in the displays are artwork or decoys. For their first turn, the museum player decides to use their 3 actions to play a countermeasure protecting the vault, a countermeasure in a gallery, and a display in the same gallery. The syndicate has 3 actions to spend on their turn as well. However, they get 1 additional bonus action if at the beginning of the turn the museum has no displays in their galleries. Since the museum does have a card displayed vertically as a display in a gallery, the syndicate doesn't get an additional action this turn. The syndicate may use actions to draw a card, recruit a specialist from their hand, either vertically relaxed or horizontally motivated, motivate a relaxed specialist already in play by rotating the card, or attempt a heist. Heists are the way for the syndicate player to pilfer artwork cards from the museum, gaining points towards winning the game. The syndicate's first action will be to recruit a specialist from their hand. They choose to recruit this specialist relaxed so their ability resolves, allowing them to immediately draw a card. The second action will be to recruit another specialist motivated. In this case, the specialist ability doesn't resolve. For their third action, the syndicate player chooses to attempt a heist. During a heist, the syndicate player selects one of the museum's 3 columns of cards in play, interacts with and tries to defeat the countermeasures in that column, and then, if the heist was not foiled by a countermeasure, pilfer either an artwork card, adding it to their showcase, or pilfer a decoy and suffer the consequences. The syndicate player chooses to attempt a heist on the vault. First, the countermeasure protecting this column is flipped face up. This countermeasure has 2 threats. On the left of each threat box is the cost in specialist toughness icons to neutralize that threat. The text of each threat resolves if the threat is not neutralized. If a threat resolves reading foil the heist ends immediately. This countermeasure, relaxing hot tub, has two threats. The first costs 2 red physical toughness icons to neutralize, and the second costs 1 blue emotional toughness icon. Looking at the toughness icons available along the top edges of the specialist cards in play, if both specialists contribute their icons, the costs can be played to neutralize both threats. The syndicate player chooses to contribute icons from both of their specialists to neutralize the threats. Both of those specialist cards are discarded. If any threats remain unneutralized, their text would resolve at this point. Since all the threats on this countermeasure were neutralized, the countermeasure is discarded as well. If the syndicate player chose to only neutralize one of the threats, the countermeasure would stay in play face up. Now that the countermeasure has been dealt with and the heist was not foiled, the syndicate player may pilfer the vault by choosing either the top card of the deck or a random card from the museum's hand. The museum's hand is empty, so the syndicate player chooses to pilfer the top card of the deck. They reveal the card. It's an artwork. This is the only artwork card worth 3 points in the game, so they're well on their way to the 5 points needed to win. When pilfering a card, any pilfer text on the card resolves. This card's pilfer text allows the museum to take 2 actions immediately. They choose to finalize their display and draw a card. The pilfered artwork is then added to the syndicate showcase. This ends the heist, and since it was their third action, their turn is over. At the beginning of the museum's turn, they exhibit any cards in finalized displays. Since they were able to finalize their display, they exhibit that card, an artwork worth 1 point. Any exhibit text on the card resolves, which in this case gives the museum 2 additional actions this turn. They then add the exhibited artwork to their showcase. The museum now has 5 actions, and they choose to draw a card, create displays in both of their galleries, and finalize both displays. At the beginning of the syndicate's turn, they check if the museum has any displays. Since they do, the syndicate does not get an additional action this turn. They now consider the museum's 2 finalized displays. If both of these displays are artwork worth 2 points each, the museum could win the game when they exhibit them at the beginning of their next turn. However, knowing this playstyle of the museum player, they suspect that the display that's not protected by a countermeasure is a decoy, and consider not attempting a heist there this turn to avoid the consequences. Instead, they look at the specialists they have in their hand and decide to try something different. For their first action, they recruit the Dunnart sisters, relax so that their ability resolves. This ability allows the syndicate to attempt a heist. They choose to attempt the heist on the undefended gallery. Since there are no countermeasures, they may immediately pilfer the display. Their suspicions are confirmed, it's a decoy. However, the second ability on the Dunnart sisters resolves if the decoy is pilfered and allows the syndicate to pilfer the vault after the current heist is complete. The museum has 3 decoy cards, and in the base game of Marsupial Met, they all have the same pilfer text. The syndicate must discard all their specialists and this decoy from play, and then the museum may immediately take 1 action. The syndicate discards their only specialist, and the museum discards this decoy and chooses to draw a card for their action. The heist is complete, and the syndicate then gets to pilfer the vault thanks to the Dunnart sisters' second ability. When pilfering the vault, the syndicate can choose either the top card of the deck or a random card from the museum's hand. The syndicate chooses to pilfer the top card of the deck, and it's another decoy. There are no specialists in play to discard, and the museum discards the pilfer decoy and chooses to deploy a countermeasure protecting the vault for their free action. The syndicate has 2 remaining actions this turn, and they choose to draw a card and then recruit the specialist Bucky, relaxed. Bucky's ability allows them to recruit another specialist. At the beginning of the museum's turn, they exhibit their remaining display, which is artwork worth 2 points. This card does not have exhibit text, so the museum simply adds the card to their showcase, tying the game at 3 points each. Play then continues until one player adds 5 points worth of artwork to their showcase.